Hey everybody, how you doing today? Mr. Elliott here. I hope your test went really well today. If your test didn't go super well today, I've noticed that a lot of kids got behind the calendar on this last chapter, letting themselves fall one day behind, and then by the time Monday rolled around, a lot of people were 2 days behind. Don't let yourself fall behind if you want to do well in this class. Um, with that said, by the time you get to class tomorrow, you want to have gone through the problems on Remember Factoring and feel pretty good about it. Um, and if you come in tomorrow and you don't feel comfortable about Remember Factoring, well, you're a day behind. And it gets on you pretty quick. So don't let yourself fall behind in this class, even though we don't check homework. So, the task we're going to be working on Wednesday, Thursday, and for Wednesday and Thursday at least, and then at home on Tuesday, is factoring. But if you want to truly be a master at factorer, you first have to be good at your multiplying polynomials together. Let's take a look at some of these examples. Number one, like if I went 6x times 2x minus 3, you distribute. 6x times 2x is 12x squared. 6x times negative 3 is negative 18x. Okay, I have a number 2 on this, and let's see, it's x squared m to the 4 times m to the 3 plus x to the 6. And we're going to do the same thing, we're going to do distributing. And x squared m to the 4 times m to the 3 is x squared and m to the 7. And this one would be plus x to the 8 m to the 4. All right, that's the multiplying. Jump straight down to part 2, factoring. Factoring is basically the exact opposite of this multiplying, or in this case, distributing. The exact factoring distributing is the exact opposite of distributing. So for example, number 1 would be like this: 12x squared minus 18x. And this is ultimately going to be the answer. And let's talk about why. Let's kind of cover this up. So I don't remember doing that a couple minutes ago. All right, so this is how I go about factoring, and if you've read those notes that I supplied in class, this is that first one, that's this common factor. And the first step of factoring is always common factors. You look at the 12x squared and the 18x, and you ask, do they have any common factors? Between 12 and 18, the greatest common factor is 6. Between x squared and x, the most that they have in common, well, they have an x in common, just one x in common. So that's what we're going to factor out. Now, so 6x times what gives me 12x squared? Or another way of looking at it is 12x squared divided by 6x. Either way, that's 2x. Minus 6x times what gives me 18x? In this case, it's 3. Or 18x divided by 6x is also equal to 3. So this is how you go about factoring it, and if you look up here, yay, we did it right. Number 2, same type thing. Let's look at the answer of this. X squared m to the 7 plus x to the 8 m to the 4. So when I factor, you want to factor out all of the common factors, but in putting it into more basic English terms, what do these two things have in common? Between the x's, they have an x squared in common, and between the m's, they have an m to the 4 in common. Well, if I factor out, I had an x squared, but I'm factoring them both out, so the x's are gone on the inside. I had 7 m's, but I'm factoring out 4 of them, so I end up with m cubed. Plus, I had 8 x's, but I'm going to factor out 2 of them. That's going to leave me with 6 x's left on the inside. I had an m to the 4, but I'm factoring out all 4 of those m to the 4's, or all 4 of those m's. So that's going to be it. So this is going to be the answer. And when you look at what's left on the inside should not have any common factors. So multiplying the exact opposite of factoring. Okay, let's get back into multiplying. So back to part 1, multiply example 3. This time it's going to be multiple things. So x plus 2 times x minus 6. Now this is also distributive property, but it's kind of double distributive because you have a binomial multiplied by a binomial. First you distribute the x squared minus 6x, then you distribute the 2. 2 times x is 2x, 2 times negative 6 is negative 12. There's usually at this point some like terms to add up. Negative 2x plus negative 6x plus 2x is negative 4x. So x squared minus 4x minus 12. And then last, let's do one more real quick. Let's see, it's going to be x minus 9 and x plus 4. Distribute the x squared plus 4x. Distribute the negative 9, negative 9x minus 36. Add up your like terms, x squared minus 5x minus 36. Okay, so that's how you go about multiplying these guys, but then how would you go about factoring those answers back into these multipliers? So part 2, back to part 2, factoring, or just factor, excuse me, factor. And we want to factor number 3, x squared minus 4x minus 12. And it's going to answer to this. Let's just figure out how. And then number 4 is going to be x squared minus 5x minus 36. Using these as your answer, when you compare the 2, the negative 6, the negative 4, and the 12, and you try to figure out some form of patterns, what I notice is that 2 times negative 6 is negative 12, and at the same time, 2 plus negative 6, if I add these two numbers together, I get negative 4. So when I multiply them, I get the final term. When I add them, I get the middle term. Does the same thing apply over here? Negative 9 times positive 4 is negative 36, and negative 9 plus 4 is negative 5. So that's your pattern. Some factoring. And if you go back to the notes, this is trinomial a is equal to 1, the technique that I'm going to talk about right now. So we're looking for two numbers based off what we just talked about. We're looking for two numbers. One of them, the two numbers need to multiply to negative 12, and at the same time they need to add up to negative 4. The easiest way to do this, in my opinion, is thinking about the way to multiply to negative 12. It could be 1 times negative 12. It could be 2 times negative 6. It could be 3 times negative 4. It could be 4 times negative 3. It could be 6 times negative 2. Or it could be 12 times negative 1. And then if you just see what these all add up to, we're looking for the one that adds up to negative 4. Well, I noticed this one and this one both add up to a 4, but these ones add up to positive 4. These ones add up to negative 4, so these are the ones that we're looking for. And it's a positive 2 and a negative 6, so x plus 2 and x minus 6, and that's our answer. Should be noted, did I really need to make this entire list? Because I did notice that I had something similar right here. And the truth is, no. Let's say I didn't have this as my list, but I only had this as my list. When I looked at these, I noticed that they multiply to negative 12 like I wanted to, but they added up to positive 4, not negative 4. So that means it's just the opposite. So instead of positive 6, it's negative 6, and instead of negative 2, it's positive 2. So you don't need to make the entire list. You just need to make half the list when it gets down to it. Okay, same thing here. I'm looking for two numbers that add up to negative 5 yet multiply to negative 36. And let's see. So it could be 1 and negative 36, 2 and negative 18, 3 and negative 6, 4. Wait a minute, I've lost track. It'd be 3 and negative 12 to multiply to negative 36, 4 and negative 9, 5 doesn't multiply, 6 and negative 6. And now I'm looking for which ones add up to negative 5 or positive 5. And in this case, it's this one. Multiply to negative 36, add up to negative 5. So my final answer for this one is x plus 4 and x minus 9. Do one more. Number 5. I'm going freestyle here. I got to quickly come up with it. Let's have it be x squared plus 6x minus 16. So I need to add to positive 6, multiply to negative 16. So it could be 1 negative 16. It could be 2 and negative 8. It could be 4 and negative 4. Those are the ways to multiply to negative 16. Now which one of these adds up to 6? I notice these two add up to negative 6. So because I want them to add up to positive 6, that means it must be the opposite. So instead of x plus 2, it's x minus 2. And instead of x minus 8, it's x plus 8. Okay. If you're happy with this lesson, I think that's good. I'm just looking through this worksheet. I want to see if we have everything covered. Yeah, I'm going to do one more example, but if you feel you don't need this, you're probably in a good spot. Let's say it was x squared minus 6x plus 8. Okay, so in this case, they needs to add up to negative 6, yet multiply to positive 8. Well, how can you add to a negative, yet multiply to a positive? That means both numbers must be negative. So it could be like negative 1 and negative 8, negative 2 and negative 4, and actually that's it. And in this particular case, the only way to multiply to a positive and add to a negative, they're both negative, so negative 2 and negative 4, so x minus 2 and x minus 4. Okay, that is factoring. So the first step of factoring in every problem is try to pull out common factors. And then if you are unable to pull out common factors, you try the pulling out. Wait, first you pull out common factors, and then you move on to trinomial a equals 1. And every single problem on remembering factoring works like one of these 6 problems today. So try it out, and tomorrow we're going to get more complicated and more interesting. So have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.